together for Chef Tony Fleming. Wow, welcome, Chef.
Reception. Thank you. Okay.
How are you?
Very well, you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, I'll start.
So what are you going to cook for us?
Okay, so today we're going to do a very simple dish. It's a dish that's been on the menu at the hotel since we opened, so nearly 2 years now. We're going to do it exactly as it is on the menu at the restaurant, but it's a dish of about 3 or 4 components. So very easy and simple to replicate at home. And fish is a simple and should be cooked very simply in my opinion, so we're going to cook it very simply to bring out the best of the ingredients really. So that's what I believe in.
Lovely, and you're from Angler?
Angler restaurant, yeah,
Can you tell us more about the restaurant?
Yeah, so Angler's in the city, near Moorgate Shoot, on top of a hotel, South Place Hotel, been open not even 2 years yet, so we're relatively young as a business, as a restaurant. So that's all good, but it's been a massive success so far. But yeah, and honestly, Angler being seafood, so we're a seafood restaurant.
And this fish looks so fresh.
Yep, so this is fresh from Thursday, so it's not even 2 days old yet. So this is from Cornwall, it's line caught, sea bass, whereas we get most of our fish from Cornwall, because that's where the best fish comes from around the south coast there. And yeah, it's tagged, these tags on it here is almost like a passport traceability, so you know where it was caught, boat 24, so you know exactly where the waters it's from, make sure it's sustainable, caught properly, and you know exactly what you're looking for. So.
Excellent.
Okay, so we're going to prep that first. So, I think just as a guideline of what fish is about really, is that to buy fish really, or to check the quality of fish, you need to buy it whole, which not many people do. I think when you buy food in supermarkets these days, there's a certain amount of preparation already done. But if you really want to check freshness of fish, and obviously fish is not like meat. Meat sometimes gets better as it gets older. Fish does not get any better as it gets older. It gets worse as it gets older. So freshness is key with fish. So buying fish whole is the best way to check, because you can't check when it's been prepared. So what we look for when we have whole fish with some signs of freshness is nice and firm. The firmer the better. As the fish gets older, it gets softer. The eyes need to be quite prominent and stuck out of the head. As they get older, they sink into the head, and the gills, if you can see the gills there, need to be nice and fleshy and pink. The older they get, the browner they get, so nice and red and fleshy. And finally is the smell. It shouldn't smell of anything at all, because when you take something out of the sea, it just smells of the sea. When it gets older, it gets fishier, hence the, I don't know, something fishy, I don't know where that phrase comes from. Maybe that's where it comes from. So once something gets older, it smells fishy. So when you go to the supermarket, you can smell the fish counter, that's because it's rubbish and it's old, whereas it just smells of the sea, which is quite
always buy whole, check the eyes, firmness.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be fishy.
Exactly, exactly. It shouldn't be fishy. I know that sounds a bit silly, but that's true. So what we do just to prepare, I'm just going to show you how to prepare a whole sea bass. So this fish here is 1 kilo, and 1 kilo will feed 2 people. It's a perfect fillet size, okay? So there's nothing done to this. All we've done so far is take off the scales, and then what we're going to do is take off the fins. We'll take off the tag, so we don't need that anymore. That's just to show you guys. So the scales are off. Take off the fins. Very sharp knife is obviously very important with fish, so just keep your knives razor sharp. Okay. So what we're going to take the guts out. Okay. So we just split the belly. You can see that.
Kids, look away now.
Yeah. And now sometimes, especially with sea bass, you find all sorts of things inside. You can find baby squid, mini fish, all that sort of stuff.
You might get a treat inside.
You might get a treat, you might get, I don't know, a shopping trolley, depends, I don't know where you find it from, I don't know. So we just open it up. Obviously, nice and pink and nice and fresh inside. The older it will get, all that will be brown and horrible. So that's all the guts and the intestines inside, okay? But this is what it's about, this is where the fish comes from. So all we're going to do with that is just scoop that out, okay? Okay, pull that out, so that's the intestines. And then you've got the livers and the guts in there as well. But it doesn't smell bad at all because it's so fresh. Obviously, when a fish gets older, that's going to start to smell and that'll be bad, so there's no harm in that whatsoever. So we clean that out first, okay? So I've got what I've done here already. I've taken the guts out, so this is a little bit cleaner, okay? So as you can see, it's nice and clean inside, so I'm just going to do that one. Just clean that down.
Now, Chef, if you're getting hold of whole fish, could you fillet it and leave it in the fridge, or preferably leave it as it is, whole?
Yeah, no, to be honest, with the fish, some parts will deteriorate faster than others. So the organs basically, so the guts, the livers, round the head, the gills, that will turn quite quickly as the fish gets older. So if you leave that in the fish will turn as well. So the best thing is to do is to fillet the fish off as soon as you can. So buy it whole and fresh, check it nice, then fillet it off and keep the fillets in the fridge. That's the best way. Unless you're going to serve it on the bone. We're just going to steam it gently off the bone. So what we're going to do, okay, is just to make an incision by the head here, just behind the gills. Then we make another incision here, just behind the tail, okay? Just take off this last dorsal bit. And these bones here, see these big bones here, these are quite sharp. And if you, these are for predators obviously in the sea, so if you prick your finger on these bones you get an infection, so you need to be quite careful. So we just cut those off, like that. Put that in there. And then an incision just behind the head, and then one at the tail. Keep your hand on top of the fish. Just run the knife down the backbone. And then you come all the way down to the backbone here. There's quite a trick to this. Obviously we've got a lot of practice at the restaurant. And we just take off the fillet. Like I said, one fillet, we'll do one portion nicely. Okay, so you come down to the backbone here. Now we've got the rib bones. We come around the rib bones and just slide it off. And there's your fillet of bass. Beautifully clean and fresh and nice and opaque. Thank you very much. So we'll just take one of those off there and we'll leave that one on. So that's one portion. Next thing we're going to do is going to remove the bones. No bones at all in the fish, okay? So we've got these series of bones down here. So using a pair of tweezers or pliers. If you haven't got any pliers, you can use your eyebrow plucking tweezers or whatever. You just pull them out like that. So there's no bones in the fish. Now
wouldn't be able to use your eyebrow pluckers again.
No, probably not, no. And the fresher the fish, the harder the bones are to come out. If the bones slip out, that's because the fish will start to deteriorate and get a little bit old. So what we do, we just pull them out one by one. Now you'll get some fish, like smaller fish like sardines and trout, they're very, very small bones. You can't really remove those, and they're alright to eat to be honest, they're really, really fine bones. Bigger the fish, obviously, the bigger the bones, so you need to remove them, okay? So we just pull those out.
And there's a different way of filleting depending on the fish?
Yeah, this is a round fish, that's a very good question. This is a round fish, obviously, so we fillet it round. Salmon is round, cod is round, trout is round, they're all round fish and a little bit oily. Then you get flat fish as well, like halibut, what else? John Dory, Dover sole, all the soles, yeah, exactly. They have 4 fillets. Round fish have 2 fillets and then flatfish tend to have 4 fillets, okay? So what's important here, we've got a nice beautiful, we don't want to do too much to it, we want to keep it natural, a natural fish shape if you like, or fillet shape. So all we do is just trim down here, take off some of the belly, there's a little bit of fatty belly fat there, trim that down, a little bit off the tail, and then a little bit off the head of the fish as well, okay? Just to keep a nice natural shape to the fish, okay? And that's it, so that's our fillet of bass, no bones, really easy, really simple, and that's it. And then what we're going to do with this, we're going to steam it. So we've got a steamer here. I think it's with fish, and I think why a lot of people don't cook it so much at home is probably fear of the unknown, they don't know what they're doing with it, I think. So therefore they don't cook it. And it cooks so quickly. I mean, you don't want to put it under the grill for like half an hour or an hour like that. It really doesn't need that. This will take 5 minutes to cook only. The steaming is a very gentle heat as well. The grilling is quite harsh, so we're going to steam it very gently, just for 6 minutes, and that's it. So we've just got a normal steamer here, but what we're going to do, just to show you what we do at the restaurant, is we're going to wrap it up first, just to give it a little bit of flavour and protect it. So we wrap it in cling film first.
Before placing in the steamer?
Yeah, exactly, because there is quite a mild heat, the steam, but at the same time, you know, the direct heat from the steam on the flesh of the fish can damage it. So we're going to wrap it just to protect it a little.
Now I think people are quite scared of using cling film with heat.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean that's probably a bit of a myth really. Again, it's a wet heat of steam, so it never goes above 100 degrees, it's impossible. So it's not as harsh as an oven. So it won't melt, it won't stick to the fish or anything. We're going to put a little bit of olive oil and a basil leaf as well, just to help it. You can get bamboo steamers and you can put stuff in the water to, you know, flavour the steam and stuff, but that's not what we're looking for. So on the cling film, there's a little bit of olive oil just to help flavour it, and of course salt. Being chefs don't do anything without salt, so just a little bit. But again, things with the salt, you need to do it right at the last minute. As soon as you put salt onto fish, draws out the water, pull the water out, send it dry, start to cure the fish, not what we want. Okay, so then skin side down, onto the salt and olive oil, then same again on the flesh side, we'll just rub that in. Then we're just going to place a basil leaf. This is not, we're not going to eat that, that's just for flavour, that's just going to send a few aromas through the flesh, because the sauce we're doing with is a tomato and basil sauce, so that you know, ties in quite well. A little bit of rock salt as well underneath, and then we're just going to wrap it. Okay, so this is one of our biggest selling dishes. We sell maybe 30 of these a day at the restaurant, so just try and set it. And this will help keep the shape of the fish as well, which is
if you're doing this for a dinner party at home, could you prep this all in advance?
Yeah, the only thing you need to be careful with that is, if you're going to prep this in advance, you could do this, you could wrap this, is that you're putting salt on the fish, and as soon as you put the salt on the fish, you'll start to draw the water out. So if you do that too much in advance, you'll cure the fish, you know, they do smoked salmon and stuff. So if you're going to do it in advance, I would advise to put minimal salt, okay? So we just tighten up the cling film, squeeze out any air. And like I say, we're looking for a nice natural shape for the fish, for the fillet, okay? So that's it, and we just fold it over, and that's ready. That's keeps everything inside as well, keeps all the juices of the fish inside and all the flavour inside, and that's our sea bass ready. Okay, so that's probably in this steamer, I'd say, how do you work this thing? How do you turn this on? Is that full?
Yeah, that's
okay,
full.
Fine. So I reckon that'll take about 6 minutes. The thing is about steaming fish as well, it's less harsh heat, so it's more difficult to overcook it. Whereas you put something under the grill for a long time, you're really going to overcook it quite quickly because it's a really harsh heat. That's not what you want to do, you want to cook it really gently. But steam is a gentle heat, so and the cling film will protect it from overcooking as well. So okay, as I said, there's only 4 parts to this dish: the fish, the potatoes, the sauce, and the salad. Okay, so we're going to do the potatoes now. So all these are it's called a crushed potato. So somewhere between a boiled potato and a mashed potato, but a little bit more texture. So what we're going to do, we've got pig fur potatoes. So this is like a normal new potato. They've been boiled and peeled. They're quite a waxy potato. They're quite a dry potato. They're not too starchy. You know, when potato goes gluey and starchy. This has got it's got a good texture to it. So we're done. Boil and peel. And then we're going to reheat them. Just drop them into some boiling water, or you could do it last minute, just peel them while they're hot, but we've done it in advance. Okay, so just drop these into some boiling water. We won't need all of those for one portion. How are we doing? Just one?
One portion.
One portion, yeah.
But make it big.
Make it big, right? Because there's so much sea bass in it, right?
2 portions.
2, yeah, thanks.
We've already bagsied the plates backstage.
We can, like, I don't know, do a bid afterwards or something. Do some sort of, for charity.
I have to say that you're one of the most serious chefs that's been on stage because you have a timer.
Yeah, but here, well, no other chef's brought a timer, so.
No other chef has brought a timer.
I don't know who you bet up here. Well, there's a good, on that night, I look at the sun shining, fantastic, is that with fish, it's very unforgiving, and that's why I think a lot of people struggle with fish as well, because it's very unforgiving. You can cook a piece of meat, and you can put it in, and you can take it out, and it'll sit there and it'll be fine, and then you can reheat it, and then you can slice it, or you can go make a stew.
Yeah.
The thing is with this takes 6 minutes, and to be honest, 7 or 8, 9 minutes, it's not going to be that great. And obviously, you know, for 4 or 5 minutes you're talking sushi. So, you know, it's a certain weight, that's, you know, about, 140 grams. I know about 6 minutes is just about right. So you can't be too slapdash, you have to be quite precise with fish because it overcooks so quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One way of cooking fish, like on a barbecue, which is quite good, is when you cook it whole, then it is a bit more forgiving because you've got the bones in it, that'll protect it, it's whole, so it'll keep its juiciness as well. So this is just a very thin fillet of fish that will cook in 6 minutes. 7 or 8 minutes would be no good. So if you're unsure about that, roasting it, you know, and you want to keep it, then roasting it whole is a good idea. Right, so that's fish. So potatoes, we'll heat those up just for like 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll strain those off. We're going to need a slotted spoon, or I can scoop those out. And then we're going to do the sauce next, okay? So it's a tomato and basil sauce, based with olive oil, coriander seed, and lemon juice, okay? So it's kind of a Mediterranean type sauce. So here we've got some plum tomatoes. Quite important to use plum tomatoes as opposed to salad tomatoes or the cheap ones. Much sweeter, much juicier, much redder, much more full of flavour. Okay, so with just 1 tomato is enough for a portion. A few basil leaves as well, which you're just going to chop roughly. And then the base of the sauce is olive oil, lemon juice, and toasted coriander seed. Okay, which we've mixed up here, like a vinaigrette. It's almost like a warm vinaigrette. Okay, nice and light, perfect for this beautiful sunny day. So go down perfectly.
So similar flavours to a sauce vierge with the coriander seed in it?
Yeah, absolutely. Vierge being obviously the virgin olive oil, first pressing of olives of the olive oil, hence the name sauce vierge. And again, it's a kind of a Mediterranean light type dish. All we've done with this tomato is plunged into boiling water for 10 minutes, taken out, peeled.
10 seconds.
What did I say? 10
minutes?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that would have annihilated your tomato.
Exactly.
It wouldn't have looked like that.
Just testing it, so make sure you're listening to what I'm saying. Not just up here to like, yeah, good, well done, very good. So we're going to do this, just going to take into quarters, you can see nice and red, okay, just going to scoop out the seeds. I think 1 tomato is more than enough.
Now Chef, you have a Michelin star at the restaurant, you've had that for 1 year.
Yeah, that's right, so we've been open, as I said, not even 2 years, so after our first year we gained a Michelin star, which is...
What did you do the night that you found out that you got a Michelin star?
Worked, to be honest.
Wow, that's commitment for you.
Pretty much.
Don't want to lose it.
It was my daughter's birthday that day, she was 10. She sat there in the front row. So I was off work in the morning when I found out, which is obviously fantastic. And then I had to go to the chef's on, they just work and work. So I went to work and just did service as normal, which I think is quite important.
Does it change the way that you work in the kitchen, or does it just make you sustain the level of work?
Yeah, I think that's important. Sustaining the level is the most important thing, because the Michelin, you know, the expectations are very high. When they go to a restaurant with a Michelin star, they expect a certain level of everything: service, food, ambience, the whole lot. And that happens every day of the week, every service, every colour. So you need to maintain your standards at all times. So as soon as we got the star, we just made sure that, you know, we put everything in place, that everything, you know, there's never going to be any sort of problems, and it's consistent all the time. So that's the first thing we did. But what I think is important as well is that we didn't change anything, because we got Michelin star for a reason, and people, our restaurants full for a reason. So you start chopping and changing, I think that's dangerous. So we just kept on doing what we're doing, really, and it's just gone from.
By the way, if anyone does have questions for the chef, you can put your hand up, shout them out, and you can answer as much as possible. No haggling.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I think we're about 6 or 7 minutes away. Does that sound okay?
That's fine.
So we're going to steam the bass. So we'll put that in. I think this is quite a fierce steamer, this one, so I'm just going to start it for 6. What we're going to do is we're going to put it skin side down. It may curl up a little bit, so if we put it skin side down, it'll stay nice and flat, then it will present a little bit better. So we'll just pop that in. Careful when you take the lid off. There'll be a big gust of steam coming off. Okay, so there's the tomatoes. We'll just dry those off on a cloth to take out any moisture. So that's just a purpose. Thank you, Frank. Like you are on the ball. Didn't start the timer. And then we'll just take the leaves and we'll just roughly chop them. No need to be too precise. Okay, chop those through. Nice. Thick, not too thin. You want to be able to bite into the basil so you can taste it, okay?
And how long have you been a chef for?
Me, I've been a chef now for 22 years.
Wow.
This is like showing my age, I know. So yeah, that's
Did you always know that's what you wanted to do?
No, not really. I look, I put that on for 6 hours.
Fish is very unforgiving.
You pressed the wrong button.
Oh, sorry.
Not really, I said it wrong. I'll put it on for 5 then, right? You need to think on your toes, it's good. So yeah, no, to be honest, I wanted to be like a policeman or a doctor when I was a young lad, and then I just went to, I went to a college and I saw loads of chefs cooking in tall hats and everything, and I just caught the bug really, and I sort of started really young, and I can't do anything else now, so that's it. To be honest, that's me for life, I cook. So, okay, so we're just gonna dice these tomatoes up, and again, nothing too fancy, just a small dice. As you can see, beautiful colour, nice and red.
And this is what they call concasse in
This is what they call concasse, yeah, that's right, but I don't like to be too...
chefy.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we'll probably do it in the restaurant a little bit, but for me... But then the important thing is that they're this sort of tomato, you know, a good vine-ripened tomato. It's not, you know, these are Italian, they're not, you can't grow tomatoes like that in this country at any time of the year, really. I
mean, the colour, they're brilliantly red, and if you have them, even heritage tomatoes, even though the flavours are so beautiful, the colour is quite light, even once you've taken the skin off.
They're not as juicy as well. I mean, the thing that turns a tomato juicy is the sunlight, really. You know, they need so many strawberries and berries, they need sunlight to make them sweet and juicy. So obviously the best ones, unfortunately, are not on these shorts, just the weather's like this today. So those potatoes are now nice and hot, that's all we need, okay? You've got another small pan roughly about that sort of size. So what we're going to do with these potatoes is let them steam just for a minute, just to take off some of the moisture, then we're going to mash them or mush them to make our crushed potato. So somewhere in between mashed potato and boiled potato. Yeah, that'll do, that's fine. Okay, so what we'll do, put that on there. So we'll and then we're just going to mash them down with a fork. And even this, to make it a little bit more luxurious, if you like, I'm going to put some crab meat. So here we've got some white crab meat that's already cooked. So it's big cock crabs from down in Cornwall again, and we just poach those, crack the shells, pull out all the meat, then we're going to crush these down and put the crab meat through it. So you just need to take a fork, let them steam a little bit, and just break them with the back of a fork. Nothing too, you want to keep some texture in there. And you can even slice them and serve them whole. It's kind of like a warm potato salad, you know, really, if nothing else. Okay, so that's fine.
On any given day at the restaurant, what's your typical lunch and dinner service?
Well, as in how many people we feed?
Yeah.
Yeah, we feed somewhere between 70, 80, up to 90. We have an outside terrace as well, so 70, 80, 90, up to 100 for lunch. And dinner, a few less, sort of 80 or 90 for dinner. But we're in the city as well, so there's a lot of business clientele, and there's a lot of time constraints. People want to eat very quickly, so quite a fast-paced restaurant we go by. It's quite fierce, it can be. A little bit of salt in the potatoes, obviously. And this is a little bit of Vier, so this is 1 part lemon juice, 3 parts olive oil and toasted coriander seeds. Just a little bit on there with a little bit extra lemon juice as well. We've got it wrapped in a bit of cloth there so we don't get seeds. And then we've got some flat parsley, which I'm just going to run a knife through just to make it a little bit. Again, we don't want to go crazy like this, you know, really finely chopped stuff that's just like you can't really taste. Keep it quite coarse. So you can just want to release the flavours really, keep it quite coarse so you can feel the pasta when you eat it. So we've got 2 minutes left on that fish. So it's all about timing. So we're just going to drop the pasta into the potatoes and then the crab meat. And the crab meat's already cooked, so you don't need to heat it. We'll just drop it through the potatoes and it'll warm itself. So quite gentle. So this is what really makes the dish luxury. Okay, so a good spoonful of white crab, quite a lot in there. It's almost like a third crab to the potatoes. And we're just going to fold that through. And then last thing, we'll do the sauce. Okay, folding that through, and then the crab will just gently warm up as the potatoes steam off a little bit.
And you used to work for Marco Pierre White.
That's right.
What
yeah.
was that like?
Yeah, that was interesting in my younger days. That was right when I was.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it was hard. And you know, everyone. It's a bit like the Marco Pierre White then was Gordon Ramsay. Now Jason Athens, all these big chefs taking over London. So he was the man of the moment then. But that was good. You know, it taught me a lot of stuff at a very young age. The principles of cooking and being a chef and what it takes to do it, because it's not an easy.
Was it an angry kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, I think kitchens have a reputation for sure. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of it back in the sort of 90s and stuff, it was quite fierce. But these days, I think things are a little different.
Much milder, I think.
Yeah, people like me. You know what I mean? They're nice. They don't shout too much and stuff. But those days, yeah, they were in the 80s.
Are you colleagues? You work in the kitchen, yeah? I can hear them muttering under their breath.
But I think it's kitchens to kitchens, you know, sometimes, you know, they're busy places.
There's a justification.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Someone does something stupid and they keep doing something stupid, they do need to be told, but you know, they don't need to.
A few pans thrown at people's heads.
We don't resort to violence unless it's absolutely necessary. No, we don't resort to violence at all, it's just harsh words, so. But yeah.
Has anyone got any questions at all?
Well, the restaurant was always going to be Fish at Angler because of the name. But I seem to be, I don't know, probably, so that's the timer for the fish, let me just check that, so that's 5 minutes. So the fish will be nice and firm when it's cooked. Yeah, that's perfect. So obviously the firmer it gets, so that's ready now. And that'll sit nicely for a minute or two, so we'll just leave that there. But when I used to work for Marco, I ended up on the fish section. And I worked at 3 of his restaurants, and I ended up on, because the kitchens are broken down into meat, fish, vegetables, starters, and I ended up being on the fish section for Marco all the time for some reason. So, and I worked in his flagship restaurant that had 3 Michelin stars, so I cooked the fish at his 3-star restaurant, so I had quite a lot of experience of cooking fish at the top level, so that's quite convenient really. So that's how I ended up doing it, being in the fish restaurant really, so that's quite convenient. So there's our potatoes, they're ready, and a little bit more salt, a little bit more lemon.
And this is typical, if anyone wants to come to the restaurant, they could get this dish at the restaurant.
Yeah, this has been on the menu since day one. There's about 5 or 6 dishes that are classed as signature dishes that have always been on the restaurant, and you take those off, people are going to come back for it, so we like to keep them on. And this hasn't changed at all. We haven't changed it, haven't changed the recipe. Wrote the recipe when we opened, it's been the same since. Right, lastly is our sauce vierge. So this is the same lemon, olive oil, and coriander mix. Just going to warm it up a little bit, just shake it so we get an even distribution, and then we're ready to serve. So just warm that through. Not too hot so it burns. Now we'll unwrap our fish, we'll take a cloth to drain off the juice. Make sure we keep it hot. And then here we've just got a salad. And obviously it's a bit of a fancy salad because we're a Michelin star restaurant. Essentially it's just a salad. And all that's on here is different sorts of herbs. We've got celery, we've got dill, tarragon, chives, parsley, some other sort of small leaves, some pak choi leaves, some amaranth leaves as well. Looks nice and pretty.
All micro.
All micro. But what is interesting is, like chefs these days, they'll buy loads and they just put it on without thinking. But these are all chosen. They're quite mild and they're quite good with fish. So there's nothing too strong in there. There's no coriander in there. Anything that's really going to take over. Yeah, nothing's going to overpower the fish. It all works out quite well. Quite a lot of celery, dill, chives, stuff that actually works. Chervil, all soft herbs that go quite well.
I'm really hungry now. It smells delicious.
Okay, so what we're going to do, just make sure we don't get this too hot. Let's just warm it. That's fine. Okay, so we do just, so as you said about the cling film, that's fine. It's contracted a little bit with the heat, but it's not, stuck to the fish or anything. So we're just going to slip that out, turn it over, and then you've got a nice shiny skin. We'll just take off that basil leaf, that's purely for flavour, and then a little bit of olive oil on there just to shine up the skin to make it look nice. Lemon, obviously, you cannot eat fish without lemon, it doesn't work. Well, it does, but obviously we've got a lot of lemon. Just squeeze a lemon on the top of the fish. The fish is ready to eat now. So we take our serving plate here. Okay, so the sauce is now ready. Just heated that sauce. Where's the camera? Can you see that? Where is it? Can you see that? There, it's there.
Oh, he's following you around.
Is he? Okay,
yeah,
fine,
don't worry.
So we're going to drop the tomatoes into the sauce like that, okay? And then basil in last minute with this, because as soon as you warm them tomatoes, they'll cook and they'll go mushy, and the basil will start to go brown as well, but you still want to warm it through. Salt again, okay, and that's it. Sauce is ready, potatoes is ready, fish is ready, salad is ready, everything's ready to go. So what we're going to do now is plate it up. This is a little bit of a wipe down. We've got the plates here from the restaurant that we serve it on. So just a nice oval plate. What is good is it's a nice long fillet of fish, so it suits the plate nicely. Can you see that? Where's the cameraman?
There, he's there. He is following you, don't worry.
I need to check. So our crab potatoes, okay, just lay it in a line in the middle of the plate.
That looks so delicious.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple. And that's what I mean, a lot of the food at the restaurant is of this style. Very simple. Good combinations that go well together, you know, we're not trying to do anything that's, you know, too controversial, wacky, do you know what I mean? Because I'm a big believer in, you know, if it works, why mess with it, do you know what I mean? Try and reinvent the wheel, but there's no point. So we just line that up, tidy it up a little bit, so it fits the fillet of the fish, okay? We take our fillet, perfectly cooked, nice and rested, sits on the potatoes beautifully, okay? And we just tuck the potatoes underneath, just so it's nicely trimmed to finish. Okay, we'll just wipe any marks off. And then we've got our salad, which we just sit along the top of the fish. Nice colours inside, so give it a nice finish. Just lay it along the top. We'll drizzle a little bit of olive oil, not need too much. You've got the sauce vierge to go with it, so you won't need a lot of oil on this. I think as soon as you dress the salad, you're going to lose the freshness and the crunchiness, obviously. So a nice raw salad is nice. Okay, so we'll just line that across the top of the fish. Couple more. Like I say, they're all chosen, these herbs, so they've got good balance, certain amounts of each one.
What inspires you? How do you create your dishes?
Well, that's a good question. Really, I mean, the seasons. Really, I mean, we follow the seasons a lot, and the ingredients really like this. It's a beautiful piece of sea bass. Don't need to do too much to it. It's like chopping it or putting loads of flavours with it. It's a beautiful piece of fish on its own. So we just steam it naturally, really, and then you know we take the ingredients, we try the ingredients, and we let the dishes almost do themselves. Really, just make sure what we do works. So that's the fish, that's the potatoes underneath, and then on the side we serve the sauce on the side. This is our sauce vierge, just a little, you know, a little sauce boat on the side. Just spoon not too much oil, just enough to cover. So the tomatoes, the basil, and the coriander. And then we just pour over a little bit of the juice. Comme ça, like that. And we serve that on the side, and there we go.
Chef, can you recap what you've cooked for us for my lunch?
Yeah, okay, so a very simple dish of just 4 components, okay, so it's a warm potato and crab salad underneath if you like, a steamed fillet of Cornish bass, a nice salad of baby herbs on the top, and a tomato and basil sauce vierge on the side.
Please put your hands together for Tony Fleming.
So it's not enough to go around, but fight your way and you can try it. Thank you.